Sure. Birds. Board games, board games, it's what we're talking about. Board games, board games. I'm not gonna shout. I can't speak for Michael. We are starting off this streaming with a little bit of singing, and over there you'll see the wonderful person known as Michael. Michael has written in some docs. That is rhymes with Michael's surname, Michael Fox. Today, so Bess and Michael, those are our names. We're going to talk about abandoning games. When should you say, okay, that's enough? I am not enjoying any of this stuff. We should just decide to terminate this game. That would make for a better date. Board games and abandoning board games is what we're talking about. Abandoning board games. I'm not going to shout. Hey, good morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It did sound like you said embandoning board games, and I am entirely here for embandoning board games.
As like making them as bad as possible.
Yeah.
Hello, Xate. It is lovely to see you. And
Yes.
apparently you are Foxy, says.
No, I'm not. Look at this. There's just chins, more chins. Scruff, grime. I'm fully dressed for once, which is nice, but you know.
Hello, Alan in chat, who apparently was watching Xate in the bath. Really? Again? I'm not sure who to believe, because...
What?
Hello, Alex, and Chris.
I like how it's just like, let's not get involved in that. Let's just move on.
Yeah, hello, Alex. Hello, Chris. It's lovely to see you. Yeah, and so I think from what Xate is saying, yeah, we can't believe Alan. I don't know who to believe anymore. It's just, they're both sometimes cheeky wee devils, these two.
It's a world that they create of their own on the internet. It's out there. It's just doing a thing. It's all good.
Anyway, this is the chaos of the busy bath time board game Blether, and we have literally had Xates and bath, but bath time is a time in your hearts, and whenever it says it doesn't really matter, let's skip over that. I am Bez. We are blethering about board games, and coming up today, we're talking about abandoning games with Michael Fox and Chris, who's basically sets up all the streams and makes the little watermarks. Told me that when they read the title, it was like, okay, we're going to drive to a lake and then just chuck all our games into the lake because we don't want these games anymore. Like you're abandoning a car, just chucking all the games away.
I mean, I've played stuff that would be better at the bottom of a lake several times. Many of it designed by me, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to go that super extreme. I was going to say, there's always something. There's always something that will sort of save a game. But then I remembered a couple of things that I have played, which we will talk about in a bit, that were just irredeemable. So, yeah.
I have played a game which was literally broken, as in the game got to a state where there was no legal action that anyone could make. And there was, wasn't even a game where we'd particularly messed ourselves over. It was just the way that the cards came out. And actually, that game, I don't feel like we abandoned it as much as the game abandoned us. It's like...
He's sitting there spiritually bereft around the table going, what did I do?
Yeah.
Anyway,
let's... And apparently... Yeah, abandoning games in lakes, maybe it would float, but the National Parks Authority told Xate that all copies of Holding On were a blight on the ecosystem, and Xate is not allowed to dump any more of them.
I mean, it's true. It's it's essentially a slap in the face of God. So why did we make it? Possession? I don't know. Some sort of hateful statement against the world? I don't know. But yeah, they just deserve to be in the lakes.
Let's not go down this dark hole. This is... I struggle with this sarcasm, so let's... If people don't know you, Michael, can you give them the 30-second intro of who on earth, Michael Fox, Little Metal Dog, We Are Hub Games, anything else?
All right, so I am Michael Fox. Hello, I live in Belfast, Northern Ireland. It's quite sunny here today. I am a game designer who works at Hub Games, also based in Belfast, of course. And you may know me for stuff like Holding On, Mega City. I started making other stuff years and years ago, like Fox and Chicken, Keep Running. So those were like little tiny small games that I made, which I'm still super proud of. Way back in the day, I was a podcaster type person, did a show called The Little Metal Dog, had a site that did reviews as well, and then inexplicably managed to turn it into a job, which is really nice. And
so for a brief moment, that Little Metal Dog show was your full-time career?
It was definitely the thing that led into me making a career. Because I was teaching at the time. I was a primary school teacher for a few years, but I had to give it up because of health issues. Boo. But yeah, for a while, that was all I was doing, and that was cool. And then I started designing, and then I started going to shows and working with people at shows, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now look at me. Here I am. A thing, a job, an existence, which is nice.
You know what? I'm going to just change it up because I just want to, let's mix it up. Let's start off with the questionably quick questions.
Oh God, here we go. All right, fire away.
And then we'll have the brilliant thing in a wee bit. What was your first game that you ever designed?
First game I ever designed that got published, or first game that I'd ever designed that... Oh, right, okay. First one that ever got published was a very, very swingy card game about espionage called Ace of Spies, which I still think has redeemable qualities to it. It's definitely very, very swingy, and if I went back and did like a second edition, it would be tempered, let's say. It would definitely be a bit more sort of like controlled. The first stuff that I designed ever, I guess it was like when I was a kid, like very young, like maybe it's like 8 or 9 or whatever. Me and my family lived in pubs across London, because like my family ran pubs for the vast majority of my childhood. And pubs are generally pretty big, and if there's only me, my brother, my mum, and my dad, there are lots of spare rooms. And I remember very specifically in one pub taking over an entire room, filling it with huge boxes and turning each one of those boxes into pretend arcade games. So it's like I made basically like all the arcade games and video games that I liked playing. I made cardboard versions of a lot of them. And that's something I've not thought about for years. So like there was like
so was there actually any moving parts? Was there actually a cards game, or were you just standing there and pretending to move the pretend joint?
No, legit, like probably the rules sucked because, you know, I was 8. But there was like a legit roll and move version of Pac-Man that I did. There was like a Space Invaders that I did. I tried to do one of Dragon's Lair, but that was just terrible. And then eventually I sort of like...
Pretty true to the source. Sorry.
I mean, yeah, it's true. But yeah, eventually I like got a copy of like Hero Quest as well a few years later. And I ended up just sort of like doing solo scenarios for that because my brother was too young to play it. So, and I lived on the other side of London where I went to school. So there you go. My childhood in a nutshell.
In Ace of Spies, co-design according to Board Game Geek with Mark Rivera.
Yep.
And I wanted to ask, so yeah, how did it come about? Were you just full of gusto and saying, okay, we can do this, let's make it ourselves? And then someone else looked at that, and so I was like, oh, that looks all right. We'll publish it.
Yeah, basically. I mean, because I'd like interviewed and spoken to a lot of people, I would just get, I could just walk up to people a lot of the time and go, hi, how's it going? Can you take a look at this and see if it's anything? Which is very nice, incredibly lucky that I'm able to do such stuff. But yeah, basically one day Mark messaged me because he'd been listening to the show as it was, the podcast then. And he said, hey, do you ever think about making games? And I just went, do I? And then all of a sudden, the file of ideas just hits the table. And yeah, we just sort of back and forth it a lot. Iterated a few versions, tested it, and then eventually went to Essen one year, pitched it, and the first company we pitched it to signed it, which was... Now I'm looking back at it, I am amazed that happened. But hey, Albino Dragon were, they were super good. We ran it. I mean, this is a long time ago as well, by the way. This is many years ago. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. Still got a copy downstairs. Still inordinately proud of the fact that I managed to make something that looks so good and that so many people hate. I guarantee there's been a few.
Well, at some point,
games
we
of that.
Might want to do a show about first games and really get into it. I know, on Board Game Geek, none of the images are licensed copying allowed. So I assume you've got some photos that you could take some photos. Do you keep a copy of your first game, of every game you've ever made?
I do generally. My problem is I end up giving them away to people a lot.
A quick hello to Bladio. Sorry, I didn't acknowledge you.
Hello.
I don't know who this is, but it's lovely to see you.
Yeah, I mean, I generally do try and keep a library of everything that I make, and then I end up giving away a lot of it because I'm proud of them. It's like, hey, I made this. If I hear you like this type of game, here you go, and that means I no longer have copies of the small little bag games I did. I never made. I don't have copies of Keep Running. I don't have a copy of Frog Flip rather. Flip Up and Frog is obviously my day job work. Do have a copy of Fox and Chicken, but that got published as well in Europe, so they're proper copies. But yeah, I don't even have a copy of Holding On because I ended up giving that away to somebody who was interested in it.
I mean, I'm very different. So I'm like a dragon. I'm kind of hoarding all the different languages of Yogi, and I'm sure I'll do all the same with everything else that gets published. I want at least a couple copies of each for myself.
I mean, there are some that I really want. So there's a couple of editions of Mega City that are coming out next year. Oh dear, we've all been there, Chris. There are a couple of editions of Mega City coming out next year that I definitely want. Because it's the idea when the game was first published, it was if this ever gets made in this language or this language, I need to have copies of it because I'm a massive weeb, so it's and that will give you a clue as to what language is coming out in. So yeah, it's going to be it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be pretty cool.
Oh, a quick hello to Rob, that's totally fine. You can lurk, you can pop in and out, and it's always appreciated for you. Xate is wanting to know specifically which languages, if you can say.
I mean, it's not finalized, but I guess I could say
that Greek. There might be a potential of
Greek. There might be a potential Japanese and Korean version.
Ooh.
So yeah, I'm here for that. It's it's pretty exciting because then it means I can go to Tokyo Game Market with copies of my game in Japanese and go, hey, please buy these things that are absolutely
do you go to Tokyo Game Markets often?
No, I want to go. I would love to go next year.
Hello, Jay Foolsguard.
Hey, Jay. Yeah, I'd like to
And
go next year or maybe the year after. We'll see how a post-COVID world is.
I mean, wow, Chris is doing well in Korea and launching in Japan when COVID heads off. But
Nicely edited.
so going back to some questions from the audience, the question is, if you are the fox, then who is the chicken?
Everyone is the chicken. Everyone is my prey. I, the apex predator.
Sinister.
Yeah, that sounds sinister, doesn't it? No, it's always random. You never know. Every day you wake up in the morning, the cards get dealt. Oh, are you the fox today? Are you the chicken? Oh, I don't know. Are you the alpha? Are you the omega? I don't know. Only you can decide that.
We are all everything and nothing.
We are everything and indeed nothing. That's very philosophical. I thank you for the input. But today we're all foxes. We're all the best we can be. We're all powerful.
I mean, is a fox definitely better than a chicken?
I mean, of course, foxes don't lay eggs. Can't make an omelette out of foxes. That's not great. Yeah, I don't know. Foxes are not actually that useful as beasts, or indeed as human. Rob, that's very deep. We are all the chicken. I mean, isn't society really just the fox, and we are all chickens? Serial killer much? Yeah. Powerful motives here on a Saturday morning. Sorry, I've been up for like 45 minutes. My brain is not firing yet.
The next question is, did your family ever run the North Star pub in Ealing?
No, but I do know the North Star. We own pubs in, we have the Mitre in Sudbury, we have the Bridge Tavern in Kilburn, 3 or 4 other ones, like around.
Your family legitimately owns pubs?
Owned, past tense. Yeah, they got out of the business a while ago. My mum now is a well, actually both my mum and my dad are retired, but they moved into like loads and loads of different sort of businesses and made their money. So yeah, can't make an omelette out of foxes. I mean, put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Make that a promo card to a random game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. A fox and chicken like promo cards many years after its release. You know, have you played that game Out of Gears?
Out of Gears?
Yeah.
No, I have not. Tell me.
I did a review of it. So I quite enjoy it, and
gonna have a look at it.
Yeah, it's like a bit like Fox and Chickens, and it's like that. Okay, what is everyone else going to do? But, you know, it made me feel a while back that, you know, I'd really like to make a game along those lines of role selection and stuff.
Love. Okay.
It's actually works really nicely, and I mean, right now I'm feeling like I might keep that. I don't know. I mean, I'm still kind of wondering how much exactly I'm going to take, because, I mean, there is the temptation to just say, you know what, put everything on a pallet and ship it all over.
Been there, done that. Yep.
It doesn't feel like the healthiest thing to do.
No, I mean, when I moved back from the States, 4 years ago now, we literally had like 3 suitcases, and then like 3 months later, 2 pallets of stuff arrived back. But before, like I gave away about 500 games because I didn't need them. You know, there was no need for them all. So it was very much just a choice of like, okay, which ones do I really want to keep? Which ones do like? And the rest of them, it wasn't like they were, you know, thrown in a lake. I gave them all to like friends who were, like, you know, just nearby. A friend of mine was opening a board games cafe in Manchester, New Hampshire at the time, and
anyone we know, Dave Salisbury, or
no, in New Hampshire, not in the UK.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, so Keaton Tufts opened Board Games with Bruce in Manchester, and yeah, I think about a third of their opening library was my stuff, which, it's all good.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, like that feels like a topic for another day, like moving and keeping games, like abandoning games and not, well, giving away games.
I mean,
We've
I,
got.
I, well,
Oh, sorry. What reply to that?
no,
Before
I was always going to, I was going to say that it's not really abandoning them if you're giving them to somebody and they're definitely going to get use out of them. Like if I had just sort of like left them all in a thrift store or a charity shop, then I would have felt a bit more worse about it, I guess. But I'm glad that they're all still getting use to some degree. And
like having seen behind in a charity shop, I do sometimes despair for how much stuff does actually get abandoned and thrown away at charity shops. Like the charity shops, you think, okay, we'll give it, and then if there's some utility for it, they will magically find a person who really wants this. But that doesn't happen at all. And there's also there's definitely some stuff like promo cards that I got from magazines that's, the people who want that, I mean, I'll put it up on a list and I'm expecting to just chuck a bunch of them away, frankly. Like if it's just an individual promo card that, hey, here, have this promo card. And quite often, the promo cards you print like just as many copies as the main game. Like if it's like something that you're really giving away en masse, do you know what I mean? Because that's the thing. Like we're giving the promo cards all these people who don't even have the game, and to entice. Anyway, it just feels incredibly wasteful. But there's some games that I feel I wouldn't. I'm looking around. Yeah, I don't have any in my line of sight that I can say, yeah, that's a terrible game. But some game. Oh wait, there was that one game that I was talking about a couple of weeks ago, and you were on the show. And then I said, you know what, Chris, you read through this and before I give it. So anyway, don't need to talk about terrible games. Let's talk about pigeons or sharks. What's your opinion?
Well, I sooner spend a day as a pigeon or a shark. I would sooner spend a day as a shark, not because I'm not going back to apex predators again. My friend Alex, who I've known since I was at university, loves sharks. So I would go, hey, I'll transform into a shark, and then you can just hang out with a shark all day and take loads of photos and videos.
And know that Alex won't be eaten.
Yeah. It's like the safest shark experience in the history of mankind ever. And it's just sort of like, okay, done. So, yeah. So nice. Then Alex, she'd be super happy, and I would have had an incredibly weird day.
That sounds incredibly generous. Oh, you are a sweet boy.
I am. I try to be anyway. But yeah, I just think that would be a really cool thing to do because she's never had the chance to sort of like swim with sharks or anything like that. And obviously it's like, it's a pretty dangerous freaking thing. But if you have what is basically a tame shark that's like going, all right, yeah, let's, basically the dolphin equivalent of a shark, just balancing a ball on the nose or whatever. But like, okay, let's go.
So what's about a squirrel or a sloth? Asks Xates again.
I do sleep a lot.
But all right, so potentially like a change from that. Because you might start having some of these urges. I mean, I think you might be imbued potentially with a little bit of that energy of the squirrel.
I do. Okay, so I would like to ask, do I have the spinal problems that I have today in my squirrel or sloth form? Because if I do or don't, that's going to make some important decisions.
I will say that you have like 90% of your current mind, like 10% of it is imbued with the animal that you are. But like the body is entirely the squirrel or the sloth, and you know how to control yourself. It's not like, if you're a flying squirrel, you can actually do everything that a flying squirrel would naturally be able to do.
Yeah, Xate says you are just a healthy animal. Okay, then I will take squirrel for that one because I cannot imagine what it is like to be so limber and so, oh, there's a tree over there. All right, look, I'm up the tree now. Look at me, I'm a squirrel that's climbed a tree. And I just I would just have a time just going climbing trees and jumping around things. Squirrels are great. People freaking love squirrels. I walk through the park when I go down to the supermarket, and it's sort of like I see a squirrel over there. You can't help but go over and go, oh, squirrel, because everybody loves squirrels. If you don't, you're a monster. But I sleep.
Words.
I'm here to give the opinions that matter, Bez. Opinions that matter. And
as long as you don't start denigrating oat cakes again.
No, I'm here for oatcakes of all kinds, all hues, all types.
Thank you. That's appreciated.
Yeah, because I actually do like Scottish oatcakes.
Hello, Andrew. It is lovely to see you.
Good morning. Good morning.
And do you like nuts?
I do. Big fan of peanut. Hey, before we were talking on live, I was having my breakfast, peanut butter sandwich. It was nice. It's energy, gets you going.
I mean, what's your favorite nut? I'm a big fan of the pistachio or cashew or Brazil nut. It's hard to decide.
Pistachios are very good, but I think I might go for salt roasted almond. There's this brand in the States called, I think, Blue Diamond, and they do a very, 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 it's very salty, very, very sharp. So delicious almond. Good. Yeah. I'm here for that. I wasn't sure whether to forward this question, but would you rather spend a day as a garbage dump or as a toilet seat? I don't know how to answer this. Okay,
I mean, would you rather have garbage tossed into you and be like, whoop, whoop,
well, that's every day anyway. But
or would you rather have people sitting on you? I don't know.
All right, so if I had to say toilet seat, I'm sure that people will go, oh, well, there must be some sort of sexy connotations to that. No, there isn't. Garbage dumps get useful things dropped in them all the time. You never know what you could get. You might find, you do what my dad did and throw away $7.5 worth of amazing comics.
As I think about it, and I want to get back to that question to talk about those comics, but like toilet seats, most of the day you're going to be bored. You're just like sitting on your own. And what's going on? Whereas a garbage dump, at least it might be unpleasant. I don't know how the garbage dump feels about having garbage in it, but it feels like at least it's like, oh, that's what's being put inside me. That's interesting. I'm getting another fridge. Oh, there's a bunch of old paint peelings. I don't know.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, my bathroom's pretty cold, and I assume that the majority of bathrooms are going to be reasonably similar to that. So, sitting on your own in a cold room all day, not super fan of. Garbage dumps, of course, naturally generate their own methane and heat and stuff. So it's, I'm here for that. Also, it's a little bit dangerous because they could explode. So, what happens if that day happens? What happens if you explode? You'll be on the news. You'll be a celebrity.
Alex says, does the toilet seat need to be attached to the toilet? It might not be so bad if you're still in the warehouse. I mean, honestly, I'm thinking that I would rather that. I mean, that one day of boredom. I mean, how fast is my mind going? Is my mind still active? Can I basically just sleep? Because what am I going to do for entertainment? It's like, I'm just sitting here. Okay, nothing's happening.
If I'm just still in a warehouse,
that could turn you literally insane. I mean, after that day as a toilet seat in a warehouse, I think I would be more crazy than after an experience as a garbage dump.
I think if I was the toilet seat aware, no sleep, 100% aware. Okay, right. Then definitely I'm going to go for the garbage dump, because if I'm stuck in a warehouse, I'm just unfulfilled potential then. I'm just there. I'm not even like, doing the job that I'm built to do.
Yeah, sad times.
I might get put attached to a toilet. I don't know. Might get turned into a frame for a piece of art. I don't know, but that's highly unlikely.
I mean,
garbage dump.
if Marcel Duchamp is anywhere nearby, you never know. I mean, coming up from the dead.
That's it. Zombie Marcel Duchamp comes around, breaks into a warehouse, steals loads of toilet seats. Art happens. I mean, that could be as exciting as being a garbage dump for a day, but I'll take the garbage dump regardless.
And then we do one final question, which I'm going to ask unless people put in questions while we're answering this, is what is your favorite opinion? Which is a really hard one. I mean, the one that comes to my mind is just the opinion that people should do. I mean, I don't know if, I guess it is an opinion that people should do whatever they want, that as long as it doesn't harm other people. That's basically my opinion.
Yeah, okay. The idea of consent,
informed consent.
Informed consent, anything that, someone has consented to, then yeah, all good.
Yeah, and if I'm doing stuff on my own time, I guess you could say, well, Bez, if you're hurting yourself, then indirectly you're hurting your family who might love you or whatever, but, or people who might love you. But, you know what I mean? It's my decision to rationalize that life quality versus lifetime thing. If I want to do things that I don't smoke, as it happens, but if I wanted to smoke and sure, that might take some years off me, I think that should be my decision. And if I want to eat really unhealthy food because that's genuinely something that is, and I guess it's a bit of Marie Kondo, is it sparking joy? Because frankly, for sure, at a certain point, if you eat so much and is it still sparking joy? If it is, then brilliant, you do that. But if it's not sparking joy, then yeah, you need to kind of make that decision and rationalize it.
Yeah, I'm done with that. I mean, I'm going to go, the answer to this question could change every day. That's the thing. This one is kind of inspired by what I've seen over the last couple of days on the heated debate site that is Pie Twitter. So everybody knows Suze from Dice Tower.
Suzanne Sheldon, yep.
Queen of pies. She loves a pie. And she got into a heated discussion over the last couple of days about, what makes for the best pies. And to me, a pie, the best ones are savory. And she was disgusted. So I was like, no, meat pie, chicken and mushroom pie, something like that. Shepherd's pie, cottage pie. She's going, but apple pie, cherry pie. It's just nah. My opinion is best. The savory pies are where it's at.
So that's your favorite opinion, that savory pies are where it's at? For
today, yeah. It could change. It might change later today. It might change over the course of this show. We'll see.
You know what? That's making me... I wonder if I could... I wonder how busy Lidl would be if I could go in and be safe and, there's not lots of stuff in the freezer. There's also an Iceland warehouse. I really would fancy just a pre-made... I don't make pies myself, but maybe get a pre-made steak and kidney or mushroom and leek. Oh, I could go mushroom and leek. I love mushrooms. Anyway, so I'm just going to acknowledge the variance in cashew pecan in the form of pie, a lightly roasted cashew, and anything but macadamia. Andrew Jenner says it's gross butternuts. I completely disagree, but give them to me. If anyone gives you macadamia nuts as a present, I am volunteering to take them off your hands.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
I will even... I was going to say, would I... No, I don't think I could cycle to Reading. I mean, it feels, yeah, even if I dedicated, is it, how many miles is it?
What, just to go get pies?
No, macadamia nuts.
Ah, okay.
I mean, maybe this could be our
Macadamia nut
time, like,
pie.
to cycle over. Like, is it 50 miles? Because I could do 50 miles in a day. I mean, I would be a
What,
bit,
25 there, 25 back?
no, like, I'm thinking, like, potentially, like, if I don't, like, 50 miles there and then, anyway, let's not go into it on stream.
It's a bit far in the pursuit of nuts, it must be said.
Yeah.
Like, just go to the supermarket, live your best life, do what is most convenient for you. Just go to the supermarket, get the nuts there, go home, enjoy.
Xates is proposing that if I was a toilet seat, then I would make 24 games all about poop. They would be sent backwards in time, and that's where the trend came from.
That works.
Xates says, which day in your life would you change? And if you were able to time travel, would you actually change anything?
I don't think I would, This is where we get philosophical and deep. So everything that I've done, whether it's good or bad, or wherever on the spectrum in between, has led me to here, which is a very fatalistic way of looking at things, I guess. But I don't think I would change anything. Because, you have to have the lows to experience the highs. You have to have the bad to experience the good. And yeah, I'm sure I've made mistakes. I'm sure I've made a lot of mistakes throughout my life. But I have learned to accept them, and I've learned to yeah, I don't think I would, because you have to go through the crappy bits to get to the good bits. What day would I relive, though? I mean, there's probably a few that would spring to mind. One of the most recent ones would probably be PAX Unplugged a couple of years ago. We just had an awesome day, just showing off games, playing games, having a good time with folks. And then the lovely, inimitable Matt Fantastic had organized a karaoke session in the basement of a vegan Chinese restaurant. Rocked up, decided, we then discovered that it wasn't actually a karaoke session. It was the basement of the restaurant had a room with a lot of chairs and a laptop plugged into a TV and some microphones. So nobody knew how to work it, so I assumed host abilities, and it was good. And then we all nearly got arrested, which was great.
Wow.
So, but it was fun times. That's what matters. So yeah, relive that, because it was just good times.
That's a good question. I mean, I feel like if I could change one small thing, it would be like, there's probably small things that I might tweak, but I don't know. That I would actually want to ponder that for an hour, and we don't have time. If you had an extra body part, I'm going to try and wrap this up in the next couple of minutes. So first thoughts. I would go for extra arm.
Okay.
Able to hold extra things. I'm assuming that I'm able to write, and just be handy.
I mean, I'm going to be completely sensible here and go, I would like an extra spine. Just replace the one that I've got now, put the crappy old one in a jar, leave it up there as a trophy. I beat you. Everything is good.
Okay, and Emily already called dibs on the macadamia, so even if I cycled all the way to
50 miles for a pointless journey.
Yeah, so I would cycle there and it'd be like, sorry, Bez. All the macadamias are going to Emily, man. Well, at least you told me before I got there. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, can you imagine being like halfway there and it's sort of like, they're all gone. Got it. 3/4 of the way there, even worse.
Well, if I'm all the way there, I guess get to see them, but then I'd feel tricked. Like, I'd been tricked into a visit, and come on, I thought I was going to get these macadamia nuts. Anyways,
maybe they might get some special in for you. The new travel this far. It's like, oh, we might as well go to the shop, get some nuts. Go to karaoke song. Excuse me. There's a few. I love Beyond the Sea by Bobby Darin. The somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere watching for me. I love that song.
Fly me to the moon and let me play among the
frickin'
stars.
ass.
Let me show what life is like and Jupiter and
so
Mars.
class. Yeah, there's a lot. I gotta say, I like the big band sort of Sinatra things, which is, those sort of like, the classic sort of like Rat Pack stuff. I like sort of subverting karaoke tropes and doing songs that are generally sung by female artists. And then, so I, like a lot of old soul stuff and things like that. Like Frida Payne, Band of Gold, which is fantastic. Like the original Gloria Jones version of Tainted Love, something like that. Yeah, there's just there's lots and lots and lots of cool stuff.
I did a belter of that. I'm coming up, so you better get a party started.
Get the party started by Pink. Yes, I've had some good times with that on the old
and also I used to do monastic chanting just the one time, but it was pretty memorable to that song, you and me, baby, we ain't nothing but animals, so let's do it like they do.
Bloodhound Gang's the bad
that's
touch.
The one.
Yeah.
And so I did monastic chanting to that because I realized that it works so well. So if you kind of like do, yeah.
I see. I mean, I like one stuff.
Everyone who had come in with was like, "Oh, this is brilliant," and then the other people were like, "Hey, does this person not understand what karaoke is?" And then the DJ like stopped the song a couple of times and said, "Hey, you have to sing." And I was like, "Yeah, I am," and then yeah.
What else is good? Seven Seas of Rye by Queen, which is just sort of like the most FU song in the world. It's like, I will destroy all of you and take you all down. And it rocks like a bad boy.
That is the end of our thing. And I guess brilliant thing. Can we say that karaoke is a brilliant thing?
Karaoke is a brilliant thing. It's a coming together of
come together
variously talented people
now.
Having a time. For me. Yeah, I love karaoke. It is great and I miss it deeply. Going back to when I lived in Manchester in New Hampshire, in the States, I would go pretty regularly to this very weird Chinese restaurant, bless you say, where every Friday and Saturday night they'd have karaoke. Like everything there was just deep fried food. The drinks did not come in glasses; they came in pitchers, and it was great. It was absolutely great. Because I'm the only person there who sounds like I sound. So I jump up and do like Uptown Funk or whatever. But it's a very posh British version. And it's sort of like, Uptown Funk you up, Uptown Funk you up, say what? Yeah, and it just sort of like freaks people out. Because you ain't from around these parts, are you, boy? It's just like, nope.
So if other people want to chime in with what is brilliant, I mean, about karaoke specifically, or you can nominate a brilliant thing for tomorrow.
Yeah, well, let's know karaoke songs. Karaoke. Yeah, what's a good karaoke song?
And
like your favorite go-tos.
We come to our recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights, playing games and other delights, recent highlights. Oh, I did play a couple of quick games of, I think I played 4 quick games of Kitty Cataclysm solo.
Nice.
2 of them I lost, 2 of them I won. And I don't know whether it's, I kind of feel like as a sort of point, it's, I'm finally getting you this time, because it's like, I feel almost evil, like forcing the AI to do certain things. I enjoyed that. I was chatting to my sibling who's based in Australia, but we've got a plan to chat every couple of weeks, which was nice. And yeah, had did a bit more writing, and yeah, that is my. Oh, also I watched an episode of Doctor Who. It was
which one?
season 9, episode 12. It's the one where this person's locked in a tower, and it's just a 40 minutes monologue.
The where the Doctor is traveling through time again and again and again and again and again.
It's kind of, well, I'm not going to reveal the twist that comes in at the end. There's like this triumphant music. There's this beautiful thing, but it's just after one of the Doctors has. I hadn't seen any of the episodes previously, so I was missing a lot of context. But
is it
we find out that
Peter Capaldi one?
Yes, Clara has just died, and then Doctor's like, "Oh, I'm going to find you and bring you down." And then, I think this is like, so I watched that. It was okay. I can see why this is a fan favorite. I can see why Jason recommended that I watch this, but I will actually need to now watch the one beforehand and possibly a couple afterwards to get. It feels like one of those. Whoa! In the setting, this is like one of those ones where a series does something completely different.
It was a really nice. It was a really nice arc, that section. So yeah, I'd recommend watching a couple runs around it. Yeah, it's a great episode. Yeah. And the punching the crystal, that sort of thing.
What are your recent highlights?
All right, from a strictly material point of view, I got a brand new computer this week, which is the first time I have ever owned a brand new computer. And it's sitting here underneath in full-on Pride extravaganza colors. It is rainbow as heck, and I love it. Hang on, I'm going to show folks because why not? Whoa, here we go. Whoa.
Going down. Ooh, very fancy lights. Wait, let me. I was going to make it bigger.
Nah, it's not that exciting. It's literally just sort of like a whole bunch of different lights on it. And it's lovely. And I built it, and I'm super happy about it. It's cool. It's
awesome.
It's so weird having something new, but I've always been sort of like having like used computers or handoff computers, that kind of thing. But I just sort of decided that, you know what, frick it, you deserve it. Work hard. You need something that's going to look, going to be able to run things properly. I'm loving streaming recently. That's probably a huge recent highlight because it's something that I never actually thought I'd end up doing. But yeah, a lot of it inspired by you, Bez, is just having the bravery to just try it and see what it's like, and it's really helping me in many ways.
For me, I was chatting about it. I can't remember with who, but I definitely feel like this is my lifeline. And
it's good for the mental health.
It's helping Sate. Oh wait, I think Sate was saying that they also need a computer, possibly. But yeah, Jay needs a new computer.
I wish I could buy everybody a new computer.
Waking up if it falls asleep. That sounds bad.
Not good. That sounds like battery issues.
And Rob has been roughing out a squirrel game with a not very mysterious collaborator. And Sate is trying to pick out karaoke songs. I think that it'll all be good. I mean, that's the thing about, even if it's on Twitch, it's a safe environment, and do what you love.
Yeah, everybody has a song that they can do. Go back, listen to like early Elvis. Elvis can't freaking sing. Not brilliantly. Elvis did loads and loads and loads of amazing songs, but he's not the world's greatest singer. He talked for a hell of a lot of his songs, so just do that.
And Andrew says, I don't know whose streams are talking about, whether it's mine or yours, but
hey, they're all good.
Either way, I'm assuming Andrew's talking to both of us. Let's assume that.
Yeah,
And
it's really good. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. It's a connection back to community. It's even if it's only like 2 or 3 people watching, it's still like, hey, how are you doing today? And I'm here for that, which is good, and I appreciate everybody else who does it.
And let's go into the main topic, because it's been coming up for like almost an hour now.
Yeah, but you know what we're like. It's just always just
comments, ask questions. Let's get a bit more on topic now, because we are now talking about abandoning games. And if you aren't already there, then please check out my Discord. And what we are asking is, when is it okay to just end a game and leave a table? And what are we talking about? Like abandoning games, we talked about before the show, but it's not just, okay, we plan to play halfway through and then stop and then restart. It's when you change your plans. It's about, when is it okay to change your plans? That's pretty much what we're talking about, right?
Very much so. And I think it's very, very easy. The short answer to this is going to be, it's always fine. It's always okay, because we're grown-ass humans and we only have a finite amount of time on this planet. So, life's too short for sucky games, but we will get a little bit deeper into that, I think, because otherwise this would be the quickest episode of the board games blether ever. And
okay,
50 minutes talking, 50 minutes talking rubbish, 1 minute of discussion. So when we say abandon, we mean like literally stopping playing in the middle of a game, potentially getting rid as well. But yeah, at
this point, I'd like to open up the discussion to other people to just ask: have you ever abandoned a game? Have you ever abandoned a game? And if so, why? Which game was it? The only game that I kind of mentioned earlier on was Hetcho, which is a really bad game. And look, I don't know. Maybe it was maybe they worked really hard, but they said that it was something like 2 to 6. And with 2 players, just the way that it works out, there's going to be times when there's a bunch of cards and there's nothing you can take. And at that point, I was like, hey, yeah, we could house rule it. We could try to patch it. We could try to make this work. But, what's the point at a certain time? Because I remember back in the day that, I had this friend, Joel Tangam, and then we used to go for a walk every week, right? And then we used to play games, and sometimes they'd be new games, sometimes they'd be games that we'd enjoyed. And a couple of times Joel brought along these discontinued CCGs, like the Mega Man one, the Digimon one, and there were like other things, and then we were like, yeah, this is terrible. Okay, yep, this is really terrible. We played the game.
This sounds like a golden day to me, because I love dead CCGs. It's one of my weaknesses. But
you know what? I've got some dead CCGs that I'll probably be getting rid of, but Huntic is my favorite. That is actually genuinely good. I might not give you Huntic, but Ben 10 and the Pirates of the Caribbean quick match. But anyway, so the point is that when you play this, like, this is almost like not abandoning the game in and of itself, but a tangential thing, which is when you play the game, there's this desire to salvage it and like to make the best of what seems to be a really terrible thing, to say, hey, surely if we change some rules, this could be something to our liking. But then it's like, and then I really tried, and then it got to the point where now I'm just designing a completely different game. And it could be a good game, sure, if you change literally everything about it. But that's true of anything. And then
I think, Bez, that's an intrinsically like, even if you're tangentially linked to game design in any way, shape, or form, we always have this, I can redeem it, I can save it kind of vibe. If we're playing a terrible game, which of course is different to talking about like abandoning a game a little bit, but you might be in the middle of something and just go, yeah, this game sucks. This game is absolutely dreadful. And there's only a few games that I've actually played where I have in the middle of it literally said, "This game is bloody awful," and blah blah blah. But yeah, I think because we know how much effort it takes to make a game. We know how much time, how much energy, the amount of people involved in it, and going from basic concept through to development, through to publish, through to getting it onto people's shelves, through to people buying it. That's a journey. That takes a long, long time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy. And we, as gamers and game designers, we don't like to see that energy wasted on something that is crap. So we want to save it. It's like, this freaking patient came in from the accident scene in an ambulance. They were DOA, but we're still there in the operating room going, "Live, damn you, live!" Just smacking. But no, it's just not going to happen.
I mean, just to clarify, this is a bit of a tangent from we are talking about abandoning the playing of the game. So yeah, it's like, but abandoning the playing of the game feels like it's related to that abandoning the house ruling, because if it's like, oh, maybe we could patch it, maybe we could make it work, but it's like that is the in between step. It's like, here is the game, we're not enjoying it. Can we fix it? No, we can't. Set it on fire. Done. Which we will talk about, setting things on fire. So Craig says, this is about paperback. So it feels like 6th grade homework with mum standing over me. It's not fun, it's stressing me out, and I'm starting to feel stupid. Stop playing, gave the game away to the person playing who was sad that we stopped. I mean, paperback is a weird one. I guess any word games are weird ones, because if you go up against somebody who has a ludicrous lexicon, like a huge vocabulary, they will always do better, which is, I play paperback. I like paperback a lot. But I like word games, so I have a good vocabulary, despite the fact that I really, really struggled with that sentence. We played German paperback too. Yeah, that's going to be terrible for me. I can't do that. I mean, it's interesting with word games, and for sure, I would like to chat multiple times about word games, because genuinely there's a lot to think about, and there's possibly I might have spent some time thinking about them. And I had sorry, that reminded me of something about couple, but starting working on that again, which is exciting. But anyway, so with word games, it feels like there's an assumption that it's more of a reflection on you as a person, because it's more integrated into day-to-day life. So the fact that, hey, I'm not able to see this word, but I should be able to do this because we're both speaking this language, and that makes me feel bad. Whereas if it's, okay, we're playing the Manhattan Project, or we're playing Demaker, and I mess up some things, well, it's just a game. It's kind of very much removed from what's going on in reality. And apparently paperback might have been where the hatred of word card games started. But I'd love to have you on sometime, Xates, to talk about hating word games. Let's talk about that.
I mean, at least there's 1,000 other genres of stuff that you can play and enjoy, and that's one of the awesome things about games. If there is something you stumble across and you just don't like the game itself, or you don't like the genre that it's a part of, you can pivot to pretty much anything else. Go play Hamster Roller or something. There's always something. Oh yeah, unstable unicorns. Oh yeah, unstable unicorns. I don't get why that thing is so loved, but yeah.
I think, I talked to Jess about this, and I feel like this is a topic that maybe we should actually revisit this, because Jess was talking about how I would want to play Monopoly until the end, and now I think about it, a lot of childhood games of Monopoly and Risk, and possibly quite a few other games that in childhood were abandoned because maybe my parents weren't able to stay until the bitter end. So maybe the people who are continuing to enjoy Monopoly or Unstable Unicorns or other games are the kind of people who are like, okay, let's start playing, and then whenever we're done with it, we'll stop playing. And maybe it's that kind of difference in culture that I think there's a lot of party games, whether it's anything where, you know, after one round, there's nothing from one round that affects the next round. I mean, for sure, Giftable, you could do that. You could play Giftable for half the deck and be like, okay, we're going to stop playing at this point. And that's what I did a lot of the times, where, I mean, in a sense, abandoning a game is just house ruling the end state of the game on the fly, you could argue, with a party game.
Yeah, that's very true. With those lighter, smaller games that, the relatively rules light, that we would say, our party games, whatever. Yeah, it's easy to sort of like just cut it, because you're at a party. It's a social situation, I guess. I mean, the vast majority of party games will be played in like a more social situation than games night. But it's entirely okay to just sort of like go, all right, yeah, I've had enough of this. I want to go do something else. Now that does sort of like point more to a larger, like a wider societal thing, where people have got to feel confident and able to sort of like say, yeah, I'm done with this. That's okay. I know for a fact that there are people who will play a game through to the bitter end because it's just seen as the right thing to do. Hey, we started this thing, we'll finish it. We'll get, we've been on this journey together, we'll go all the way through. But like I said earlier, there's only a finite time that you have to play. I'm sorry, my voice is going. Excuse me. We only have a finite time on the planet, and games night is a very small section of that finite time. So why not use that time as best as possible? So example, I played the Asylum adventure in Time Stories for the first time 4 or 5 years ago, and had a lovely time. Really enjoyed it. Absolutely fantastic. I felt that enough time had passed, I'd forgotten enough of it that I could go back and play with a couple of people who had not played it before, relatively recently. And I did not enjoy the experience at all, because the game was exactly the same. That's fine. I admittedly had forgotten a load of stuff in it, so that bit was fine. But from a gameplay point of view, from like a mechanical point of view, I was not enjoying it. I think my tastes have moved on from 5 years ago to now. And after we played all the way through, beat scenario, blah blah blah, that's all good. We were talking about it a couple of days later, me and one of the other players, and she said that she did not enjoy the game at all, but didn't want to say anything in case anybody else was enjoying the game. And
I mean, that speaks to the importance of communication, right?
Yeah, very much.
Because if you are, I mean, if I say, hey, I'm not hating this game, but I'm not particularly enjoying it. And I actually, more and more, I thought of 3 more examples of games that I have actually abandoned. They keep popping up in my memory when you start talking about them. Because I was like, oh yeah, actually, there was this one time at a convention where we started playing a game of Star Flux, and I said, okay, you know what? I'm down with playing Flux for a while, but I need to put a timer on it because I actually need to head off after a bit. Can we put a 40-minute timer on? And if the game is still going at that point, we stop no matter what. And then the other people are like, yeah, sure. And then we got through the deck, and I think it had been like just over, it might have been like 41 minutes by the time we got through the deck. And then the rules are you shuffle up and then you restart. And I said, hey, do you mind if we just stop it at this time? And then the other people are like, no, that's fine. Honestly, we just wanted to see all the cards. That's the most fun for us. And there's a thing about games with widely variable times. And for some people, it's like, okay, well, we've had some fun and we will stop it. And for other people, it might be seen as a failing of the game. And I mean, in modern board game design, it's almost, I don't know, is this just because we've gotten insular, because everyone who's playing the game, I mean, are we becoming more dependent on the game to tell us when it's ending? And is that correct? Because what's to say we don't just start playing Dixit and just say, okay, you know what? At some point, we're just going to say, okay, we're going to pack it in once people are less interested. Wouldn't that be a fine way to play Dixit?
To be honest, we played a game of Concept a few weeks ago that was exactly that. It was not a game about keeping scores or anything. It wasn't about who was going to win it. It was literally just, hey, I'm going to take this clue and I'm going to see if I can do it. And we ended up playing for like 2 hours, which was fantastic. You know, Concept normally says on the side of the box, I think it's like 45 to 60 minutes. And it was lovely because it was playing for the sake of playing. It wasn't playing for the sake of victory or playing for the sake of dominance. It was just playing, you know, like kids do on a freaking playground at lunchtime or whatever. It's just having fun. And I think a lot of us forget that we play games for the fun of it. It's not always got to be I am the winner and I have beaten you all. I have vanquished you. You're all losers. Now, obviously, with more sort of like, you know, Euro-y games or whatever, yeah, we are playing through to get to an end state. And that end state is going to be reached at some point. And you can sort of, you know, if you played the game before, or if you're, if you're aware of, if you're aware of how the game goes, you have like an expectation about how long that thing's going to take. But if, for example, like when I got stuck in a 3.5-hour game of Munchkin, that is not fun. That's not a good thing. And when games stop being fun, then you should just be able to put your hand up and go, no, I'm done with this. There's something very bloody-minded about just persevering through the end of something that you are not enjoying at all. Whether that's
it speaks to the importance of closure, doesn't it? Like, it speaks to the like, are you getting like this giant satisfaction at the end? Say, oh, I managed to run my engine this final way, and it's like, okay, I was strategizing along the way, and Xate was playing Paris New Eden when the hall shut and they kicked everyone out, and Xate still wonders if they won. And it's like, I can see how if you've been spending the game going for a particular thing, and then it's like, is this going to pay off? How am I going to do? And that's like, it's all been leading to this moment. And that's like the big thing. And maybe that's the nature of a game. Like, does the game have a big climax that, even if it's a scoring thing where you add up some numbers, in a lot of ways, that is the climax. To say, hey, I played Point Salad, the first game that I played with Layla on Thursday. I will remember that as the game in which I picked up that one card that I thought was going to be really OP, but it wasn't at all, because I had to force my entire game around it, and then it was, basically just a terrible card, because it was the one where you get 5 points for every vegetable you don't have, and then but if you want to maximize those points, it's not allowing you to get anything else. Anyway, and like having that satisfaction at the end, okay, now I see what I've done, and pondering it, that feels like it's the joy of the game in seeing how it's all panned out.
Yeah, I think it all boils down to an expectations thing. We have the social contract when we sit down and play games that we are generally expected to get from point A, the beginning of the game, to point B, the end of the game. We will know what that end is, whether it's the time written on the side of the box, for example, or when we're reading through the rules, we know that it's going to be 8 rounds that we play through. So having that defined endpoint is very, very useful for us as players. Now, the problem will come in when a game does not have a visible defined endpoint a lot of the time, or when the game sort of spikes off to the left and it's just it goes completely wrong, which can happen. So I want to give an example. We did end up abandoning this game. This is one of the few games I've actually abandoned. It was New Year's Eve about, God, it might be about 9 years ago, something like that. And a friend of mine, Chris, had brought over a Doctor Who, sort of like a Roland movie trivia game that they were sort of like, not excited to play, but were interested in playing, because it was like, yeah, let's give it a shot. Because, we all love Doctor Who and blah, blah, blah. And the unique selling point of the game was the board had this sort of, so it was like a normal board like this, but it had this flippy bit that would flip between between two sides. So think of it like a book, but it had one page. Okay. And that page had holes cut out, and those holes, when they flipped to the opposite side, would open up different areas of the map.
Okay.
Yeah, which was like interesting. It was like, okay, cool. The only problem is that it was very easy for players to get trapped in certain sections, so they couldn't move. And if you couldn't move, you couldn't get new questions. So it would be very, very, it was very easy to get to a locked state in the game. So it was like, okay, well, that's fine. We can fix it somehow. We did the thing we were talking about earlier. We can house rule it. Yeah, could we have gone forward in time to the end of the game? I bloody wish. The other issue is that of the 250 questions in the game, this first game that we played, we'd gone through 100 of them already, which did not take us very long at all. The cards were typoed to heck, and a lot of the answers were incorrect because, as a bunch of big Doctor Who nerds, we knew the answers. Hey, how to spell Dalek? Well, it's definitely not Dahrlek, which was what was written on the card. So we did, in the end, because the situation had gotten so laughable and so bad, we literally took the game, we took it out and back, and we set it on fire because it just did not deserve to exist in this world. So not only did we abandon it, we literally destroyed it because it was so awful. It was cheap, and I guess it was like the memory of us coming together and playing this terrible, terrible, terrible game and then burning it was I think that's a fun memory to have, but good Lord, I wish we had.
I once tried to burn a game with...
Which one? I need to know.
I can't even remember. It was honestly so forgettable at this... look, all I remember, the things that I do remember is that I genuinely tried to burn it, and it wasn't good fuel. Because the cards in the box have that glossy finish on them. It's actually quite difficult. It's more difficult to burn a paper-based game than you might believe.
Yeah, you got to douse it in a lot of lighter fluid. It's the only way. I mean, Mega City Oceania, of course, cannot burn. It is unkillable. Say is mentioning literally all of our games in the chat, so it's just like thanks, cheers.
Yeah, I mean, those are bad games to burn because there's a lot of plastic fumes from that. You burn, okay. Yeah, that's going to be the word. Yeah, except for the instructions, I guess, would burn, but yeah, the plastic cards would just kind of secrete this horrible noxious fumes and just melt.
Oh god, so Andrew in the chat said we picked up Simpsons Battle of the Sexes at a charity shop, which is terrible at the best of times. It was bad and full of misprints. Answers were printed on the wrong questions. Question: what does LED stand for? Answer: Frink. just sort of like, what? So yeah, in that case, this is the kind of game that you definitely should be abandoning because it's just sort of like, good.
Indeed,
It just does not function.
Don't even give it away. But you can use those cards for prototyping. But at a certain point, it's like, do we need that many prototyping cards? Because if you're actually using the card with a sleeve in it and paper in it method, then you only need so many of them.
Mm-hmm. It's true. I mean, so I think it might be a good idea if we sort of like talk about like the games that we more love, and is it okay to abandon those at any time? And
I would like to share a couple of stories from the chat. So firstly, Xates has shared that Vast was abandoned, and that wasn't because of Xates. It was the husband having a temper tantrum because Xate's husband didn't like the rules that they had to play by and wanted to do it differently. And everyone else was, no, you need to play by the actual rules. So Xate's ex-husband yelled, stormed off, and sat in the hallway without a light on and wouldn't come back or leave. And Xates and Xate's husband were at people's home that they didn't really know, and it was so embarrassing.
You're better off without him. Just putting that out there. Dude sounds like an absolute penis.
And that also abandoning a game before you actually properly get started because you can't properly understand the rules. I've done that where it's like, okay, wait, you know what? I'm just struggling to learn this game.
Yeah, sometimes you don't have the mental spoons for it, and that's fine. That's okay.
And Alex brings up a really interesting point. And I would also talk about Go, where in both Go and chess, it's frowned upon to make the other player play out the end game because it's basically you only play until you know the results of the game. That's kind of the culture. And so in Go, if someone's brand new to the game, I would say, let's play it out because you've never seen the end game played out. I understand you can't picture it. I've won at this point. There's no way for you to win, but if you want, let's play it out. Let's do this quickly and you can see what's going on. But once you understand the game, it's like, okay, wow, I've completely lost. And it depends also on where you're playing. Like the higher level that you are, the more it's expected that you actually abandon those games. But it's not abandoning it as much as it is, we already know the results.
Yeah, I mean, Rob makes a good point. It's more like that's resigning or conceding, not abandoning. It is ending the game. But of course, the end state of the game is going to be variable each time you play it, which is, that's how it is, whether you're playing Go, whether you're playing chess. Watching an anime at the minute that I've wanted to catch up on it for ages called March Comes In Like a Lion, which is based around the Japanese game shogi. And that's a similar thing. It's strange. You never see somebody have, in shogi, you never really have somebody win the game. It's always the other person saying, I have lost, I concede. So yeah, it's not an abandonment, but it is definitely sort of like it's knowing when to stop pushing. Because if there's like, there's definitely no way out for me to be victorious, then that's cool. I mean, it's a form of abandoning, so I'm all cool. Oh god, was that me just shouting about Xate's ex being a penis? Yeah, there you go. Probably that's what the clip is. Yeah, good. Just keep it on your phone at all times. It's just sort of like, oh yeah.
I think it's a good thing to kind of have that affirmation of, yes, I made that correct choice. But yeah, I mean, Xates mentions at conventions it's completely different because the notion of a game isn't that, hey, we're going to play this game, especially if you start off at a demo table. And I will almost encourage people to abandon a game if I'm demonstrating it. I will, if I'm playing Wibble, then I'll say, okay, that's it. Now, would you like to play one more round? And then now you know the rules. And I'll I think it's been a while, man. How long has it been since I demonstrated it? It's at least been since March. And it's been such a long time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I
Feels
guess it would have been AirCon, yeah?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think I demonstrated it at Terracon. Like, I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, the point is, like, once you play 2 rounds of Wibble, you know how it's going to carry on. And at that point, I'll say, hey, that's the game. If you would like to carry on playing, you absolutely can, and you're very welcome. But if you would like to try another game for the deck, or you don't want to, either way, it's all good. And quite often people at that point will be like, oh yeah, let's see one of the other games, and then they'll play like maybe 3 or 4 games and then buy the deck.
I mean, it's very interesting when you offer people that opportunity, that get out clause. Anytime I do a demo at a show, whatever game I'm doing, whether it's one I've designed or one somebody else has done for us, I will always, at the very beginning of the game, I'll say, okay, we're just going to play through a round, and then if you want to continue, you can continue. And I'm happy to do that. And when you get to the end of that round, or like that 10 minutes of showing how the game works, and everybody's had a go and everybody's got a feeling for it, you then sort of like remind them, it's just like, okay, do you want to go on or do you want to stop here? Because we can stop here entirely. And it is the looks on a lot of people's faces. It's like, what do you mean we stopping? Like it's not like they were expecting a full game, but it's like them being given the opportunity, because I know that their time is valuable. It's like, it's literally, I'm just here
and
to
also your
give
time,
you that
like
experience.
frankly, as a demonstrator, if someone was like, you know what, maybe I like word games, maybe I don't, and then they play it and they're like, oh, actually, this isn't for me, I would rather they just go off and do something that they would enjoy. Like, from a, like, ensuring happiness of them, you know, they're going to be happier. And from a cold calculating business point of view, I would rather that I spend time, or a demonstrator that I'm getting to volunteer to do stuff spends time with someone else who might actually want the game.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew saying that I was fine with it, the other people clearly not engaging, and I had fun. That's cool. I would like to normalize this idea of, if you're in the middle of a game, whether it's a convention or in someone's house or whatever, if you're not enjoying it, why are you putting yourself through it? Just stop, yo. Get some help. Just like, I realize that we, you know, as people who play games, we love to win. There has to be communication.
But also pre-game, to say, hey, this is kind of what we're expecting. To say, hey, like, if I fully telling you this is what you can expect from the game. If I start teaching you Grapple, well, I have never had anyone abandon that game halfway through, because for goodness sake, the game lasts about 2 minutes or less. It lasts like, it takes me about maybe 3-4 minutes to teach it and play it. And you know, that, like, what would abandoning that even be like? That would be, I mean, at the point where someone's actually, I'll explain. I'll say, hey, look, this is a game. You need to quickly pick up cards. You need to be in a high energy mood. It's dexterous and it's just matching cards, but it's got high energy. And honestly, the people who wander over will probably have had some idea of, okay, I see all these people manically grabbing cards. I know what this game is about. If they look at that and then they know what they're signing up for. Conversely, if I'm introducing it at, you know, to someone else who's, I think there's one person that I live with who still hasn't played Grapple. So, you know, if I were to say, hey, this is what kind of game it is, I would kind of make sure to make clear, hey, this is going to be a game of quick reactions and doing things very quickly and picking up cards really quickly, and matching them. How does that sound? And it's kind of clearly setting up expectations.
Expectation and communication. I think those are the two key words that we should probably focus on for today's show, because it's very much...
So expectations and communication.
Yeah, these are like two of the most important things and not just in games, but in the grand scheme of life as well. If you go into a situation knowing what to expect, you are going to be more comfortable, you're going to be happier. And if at the start of a game, I mean, at our house, it's like an open rule. If you're not enjoying it, just freaking say, because I would sooner we be playing a game that everybody is into, especially if it's like, something that's potentially going to take an hour, 2 hours, maybe 3. I don't want people sitting there miserable for 3 hours. I would sooner play 3 games that they enjoy. And a lot of the time I will concede and go, hey, would y'all sooner play something lighter or something sillier as opposed to like this? So I've got a copy of High Rise downstairs. I have not played it yet. I played against Gil, the designer, ages and ages ago. Absolutely loved it. Bought a copy. Can't wait to play it. Got like the deluxe version. It's beautiful. Organized a game day. We're going to have a bunch of people come over. I knew it was going to take probably most of the day, like with teaching and then actually playing the full thing. And I was excited for it. And the other players, I thought, were also into it. I had it all set up. It was all ready to roll. And then I could see on like the look of like one of the players' faces that they were sort of like, they were not there. They were not engaged. They were not in. So it was like, do you know what? I said, do you want us to play something else? And it wasn't like in an accusatory way or like in a I didn't want to frame it negatively or anything like that. It was like, seriously, you're here because we all want to have fun. We're all here because we all want to have fun. So that game was abandoned before we even played it. Yeah, there was an agreement set before that we were going to play it. But it's like, nah, if you ain't engaged, then I would sooner that we sit down and we play, hurling concept clues at each other for 2 hours, which is what we ended up doing. And it was great. Be open to changing your plans and have an environment where people feel comfortable enough to say, this ain't for me, Chief. I'd sooner do something else. I would sooner sit down and play tier after tier or animal upon animal for 3 hours with folks if we're laughing and chatting stuff with each other across the board, across the table. And just, there's just freaking monkeys falling all across the place. But I would also love to sit down and play, a 3-hour game of High Rise, but different days for different things. Sate actually puts it there pretty well. There's a lot of times where you should have asked to stop a game or not play it at all, but you went along with it because you feel you had to. Nobody should ever feel that they have to. Because if you're not having fun, and there's no point even faking the fun. If you're not having fun, why do it?
And Sate makes the point that no one else is going to have fun. Like, I mean, when I'm playing a game with someone else, it's all about that shared experience.
Yeah.
And so, there's some elements of giving it enough of a go. Like if you're unsure about it, it's like if you're, okay, wait, this is but like if we get halfway through the game, if it's a case of, hey, this is difficult for me to do, then, it occurs to me that maybe I should be checking in with people a little bit more, especially when it's just a 2-player thing, to say, hey, this game of couple that we're playing, okay, we've gotten halfway through. Are you wanting to carry on, or would you like to go back to some more point salad? Would you like to play that a third time?
Aqua in the chat makes a point, like saying, are we talking about games still? But it's like, this is a thing that we should be doing across the board in our lives. You should be checking in with people regardless. And I know where you're going with that, Alex. I know it's like, we mentioned it super early about the idea of informed consent. And you should always, whatever situation you are doing, you find yourself in, consent is very important. And the consent of something
And
is...
you can always revoke consent, and that's
Yeah,
the
you can
important
always...
thing. And
that's the thing.
I
You can
talked
always
about
say
this
no.
with Lolvi about safety and LARPs, and then we had a thing chat about safety in board games, and I was quite shocked, frankly, to find so many people in Bookcock almost rallied against the notion of safety in board games. People were, what, in board games? Seriously?
Yeah.
Hey, I don't need safety. And I'm not saying that, it's just to say, hey, in a board game, if we were playing Holding On, I would want to check in with everyone to say, hey, this is going to deal with death and some troubling issues. Are you okay with that? And if you're not in the right headspace, then let's not play it today. Or potentially ever. With
I've done demos of Holding On where 3/4 of the way through the game, like, people are not like, I'm not going to say that they are actively sort of saying they're uncomfortable, but we're humans. We can tell when people aren't doing great a lot of the time. So it's like, come on, you can stop. It's fine.
I have never been diagnosed as autistic, but I definitely have a lot of traits that are symptomatic of autism. And so, whilst I'm not going to say so far as I'm an autistic person, I am definitely on that spectrum, let's say. And so a change of plans does make me feel quite uncomfortable. And that's something that I had to learn to cope with, let's say. And I really like to know, okay, this is what I'm going to do, at least tonight. This is what I'm going to do when I'm going out. Okay, this is the reason for me going out. This is what we're trying to do. Yeah, exactly. Like, I do have a high desire to complete things. Like, and when I was watching that show, Lost, like, I started watching it after it had already been kind of done, and I was like binge watching it, and I was like halfway through season 4. And I was like, you know what? This is me almost, in some ways, throwing my life away, if you know what I mean. I'm not going because I have actually sacrificed other things, because I have gotten so much into watching this, into being like, I need to watch this until the end and see it. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I try to go cold turkey, and for a year I avoid non-interactive visual electronic entertainment. So basically, I wouldn't watch animations or films, but I would play video games, because for me, I didn't feel like that was a problem at the time, because the kinds of video games that I was playing was mainly flash things, and then I would play them for like maybe an hour or half a day, and that would be it. Whereas, if it's something where I can see that I'm starting to watch these things, and that's going to be taking a week out of my life, and it's actually going to ruin relationships. And yeah, for sure, I can have an addictive personality to certain media, and kind of recognizing that in myself, but also recognizing that that's not the healthiest thing, because when I'm watching something, I need to think. And I talked to this about Jason yesterday. When I'm watching Modern Family, if I sit down to watch more than 2 episodes in a row, am I watching the 3rd episode because I'm really enjoying it? It's imbuing me with some levity, with some happiness, in which case, maybe that's great. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong in watching a lot of a thing, or in playing a game for, hours, or having a big marathon for like, just, I'm all for it if you're enjoying it. But if you're just doing it because you've started it, and then because, I feel compelled, it's that active enjoyment and making that active choice, as opposed to feeling compelled to do it. Do you know what I mean?
It's easy to stay on the train, basically. It's rather than sort of like, getting off at the next station and going to a different place. It's that kind of thing. I mean, yeah, we all have the same thing with biscuits. It's true. Hey, am I eating this 9th digestive because I really, really enjoy them, or am I just sad? Why not both? Why not both? But yeah, it's. I think it's interesting that you bring the autism element into it. My partner Steph also has autistic tendencies, and we're in the process of getting that sorted. I guess is probably the wrong word, but certainly investigated. And something that I have tried to do a lot better at is saying you don't have to 100% everything. Half-assing something is fine. Watching, 3/4 of a film, and if you're not digging it, switch it off. It's fine. I ain't going to be angry. No one, if anybody is going to be angry about it, I will kick them very hard. But I think it is about making people comfortable, whether they have, completionist tendencies or anything or not. It's about making people comfortable enough to make a decision that is right for them. And sometimes that decision might be we're 3/4 of the way through a movie or 3/4 of the way through a game, and the person checks out. And it's like, it's not like we don't live in a world where you can have 1,000 other different distractions because it's a small computer in your pocket. So say, for example, we're watching a movie and Steph goes, oh, I'm not really that into this. I will say, is it okay? Because if I am enjoying it, is it okay if I watch the end of it? And, Steph can then play on Switch or read a book or do something like that. Same thing with games. If we're 3 rounds into a game and somebody's not feeling it, but the rest of the players are, it's okay to stop, have a quick conversation and say, all right, is it going to break stuff if player 1 decides that they just don't want to play anymore? Can we get around it? Can we work around it? Have we played enough of this game to have had a fun experience and abandon it, jump ship and go play something else with 3 players instead of 4? All of this it should be normal. But for a lot of gamers, I guess, especially Eurogamers, and I count myself amongst them, there is that sort of desire to get to the end of the race, regardless. Because it's like, for me, it's very much I would like to see how this thing works all the way through. It's not just like I want to see how a round works. I want to see how the whole game works. What I do in round 1 affects round 2, affects round 5, affects the end, that kind of stuff. But I think as we sort of get more comfortable with each other in life, in the world, and everything like that, I think just giving people the option for an out is all right. You don't have to play all the way through everything. You don't have to sit through every episode of Lost. If you have, fair play to you. That is pretty powerful. I'm in the middle of my latest rewatch of Alias. I mean, that's 5 seasons. That's 100 and something episodes.
The reason that I brought this up was because you were talking about being able to see that people aren't having a good time. And that's something that I still struggle with. I still struggle with body language. I have done a lot of reading because, for many years I've said that the thing that will make me the single skill that I can develop to become a better board game designer is empathy. In reading body language and when I'm playtesting, being able to see what people are up to and being able to hear that. And it's kind of trying to work out what they're doing and then the questions at the end, maybe just to say, hey, was what I observed what was actually going through your mind? And hey, let me ask a little bit more about what was going through your mind. But in the did you enjoy it? That something that ideally I should be able to look at, but it is challenging, and especially if I'm at a convention and there's a lot of people, and that's why I ask specifically and why I ask explicitly, because also people show emotions in different ways. True. And so that's why I think it is important to, at some reasonable points in time, say maybe, hey, are you having fun? Are you enjoying it? If not, let's kind of move on.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine how much easier your life would be if people were okay with saying, like, without being prompted? And I'm not saying like for this to be like a rude thing or anything. Can you imagine how easier it would be for your life if people just said, "Yeah, I'm cool. I'm not totally enjoying this," and you're not going to take it as a slight. You're not going to take it as a.
Doesn't mean that you're a bad person
thing.
or that if it's your game that you're a bad designer. It's just
not for them.
The game doesn't work for them, and maybe at this particular moment.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. I find it difficult to convince people I'm fine with playing something different after setting up and explaining a game. Yeah, I do it all the freaking time.
And Rob says, in the well-played game, De Coven talks about how it's his only play if the players are free to leave the game without sanction. And that's the thing, that if, in a sense, it's only truly a game if the game has no bearing upon your real life. And as soon as your life is hostage to the game, if I say, okay, I'm going to start playing a game with you, but you can't leave the game until it's done. I mean, theoretically, I know games like it's easy to rag on it, but you could play a game of Flux for years and the cards come out in the wrong way and it literally never ends. I mean, it's very unlikely. It's likely to end within like half an hour, 40 minutes, but sometimes it doesn't. It could last. And if it's like, you are hostage to this and that can be problematic in itself. Maybe you have somewhere to be.
Yeah, once, the fun like incrementally will drop. There's only so much you can do in a game like Munchkin or in a game like Flux along those lines. It would be it's a very interesting idea. I must read that. I must read that book because I'm trying to be better about like the understanding behind games, behind why I make them, why people play them, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it just boils back to this sort of, yes, there is a social contract when we sit down to play a game that we are expected to all play by the same rules, work all the way through it, get to the end, there'll be a winner. Great. But there should be an additional, an addendum to that social contract where it's like, Bez and Michael are having a fantastic time playing Expedition to Newdale. And, Nicholas, hi Nicholas, is also joining us at the table, but thinks that it's absolutely trash. So, if you think it's trash, you're not going to be playing to the best of your ability. You're not going to be having fun. So let's just screw it off and play 4 instead. Something like that. Much better. So, yeah, it's not just a single social contract that we're working around. It's a modified social contract. It's the idea of having a place where everybody is comfortable to speak their own minds and not be a dick about it. But sort of like just be honest, be straightforward, and say, "Yo, this ain't for me. Can we play football-themed Snakes and Ladders?" So, speaking of football-themed Snakes and Ladders, God, it's like an amazing thing. Played that with my son earlier, but when you reach the end, there's a spinner that says if you've won or have to go back. I felt like that had a high chance of lasting for hours. Yeah. Play something different. That's bad. That's a bad design.
I mean, I'm not sure if I've ever actually finished a game of Snakes and Ladders. As a youngster, I think that the adults that I played with never had the stamina to make it through. And I once played with another youngster and I was like, let's play it all the way through, please. And then they abandoned that. And then as an adult, my little nibblings, my siblings' children, they were playing and then they got bored about halfway through the game, when they were about in the 50s or 60s out of Space 100. And, I'm just there. I'm not that fussed about Snakes and Ladders anymore. That I'm like, one day I will play an entire game of it. But honestly, it feels like for these days, like is that good? Because maybe it is good because it teaches people that abandoning games halfway through is okay. And hey, if maybe it is good. On the other hand, would it be better if it was, a 5x5 board and it went up to 25 rather than 100? And then maybe some children would have that satisfaction or think, oh, I managed to win through entire sheer random luck.
Yeah, or you could just say, all right, instead of getting up to 100, all you need to do is get a 50. First person to get a 50 is a winner. It's all good. It's all fine. I mean, this is going to sound heretical, but hey, who am I if not someone to call controversy? Games don't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, I make them, I design them, I love to play them. They don't matter a damn, to be honest. It's the people who are around the table who are playing the games.
Sure, but the games affect the people, and the games affect relationships and friendships and everything, and that does matter.
Yeah, I mean, they are a for me, I've described them often as a social lubricant. They are the thing. Yeah, deal with it, say they don't matter. They are the thing. Like, they are not the be all and end all. They are a functional thing that allow us to interact with each other in a different way. And if the thing that you have is impacting the way that you're interacting with somebody, and you mentioned earlier, Bez, about being almost held hostage to a game. It's like, I must finish this. Like, if someone is sat at the other side of the table and is going, no, you can't go anywhere, we have to finish this. It's like, no, I'm sorry, I have a funeral to attend. I'm not going to sit down and play, a 4-hour game of Munchkin if I have to go to my grandmother's funeral. It's like, no,
I think it's also about that communication on the parts of the players. Like, not only the communication on what is this game all about, but also communication on the parts of me. I mean, like, I keep bringing it up because, Thursday nights I played games with lovely Layla, and, Layla said, Bez, I don't want to play the Manhattan Project, but we can play something else like that. And I was, are you sure? Imperial Settlers? I mean, I feel like there's a lot more to read in that game. And it was like, oh no, it's just that I don't want to be throwing planes at each other and fighting each other. And I don't have the stomach for that tonight. And it's like being upfront with, hey, this is an experience that I would like, this is an experience I wouldn't like. And the fact that, okay, we've played enough games at this point that Layla's like, hey, tonight I don't have the energy to learn a new game. I want it to be a game that I played before. I want it to be not this game. And this is a game that I'm happy with. And
that's healthy. That's setting parameters. And that's exactly what you want. You go into
setting your own
with
boundaries.
an expectation.
And like when I was at a convention and we were finishing up and saying, hey, I need to go in about 40 minutes. Can we set a timer for 40 minutes? Or saying, hey, this is how much time. And if you start playing Twilight Imperium and you know that you're going to have to leave the table in half an hour or even an hour or 2 hours, you should tell people that up front.
Yeah, because you shouldn't be sat at that table because your expectations are different to what everybody else is. Now, if everybody agrees that it's cool for you to sit down and
expectations.
If you sit down at that table and say, look, I've got to go in 90 minutes. Granny ain't going to put herself in the ground. I can only play a few rounds of this. That's fine. If the other people accept that is okay, and you can only play like 3 rounds of Twilight Imperium, that's fine. You came to that agreement yourselves. If you're in the middle of a game of Twilight Imperium and you're thoroughly not enjoying it, it's not going to take you long to realize. So it's better to tell them earlier and go, yeah, I'm not feeling this. Because things can, you can go and do something else. People can continue. It ain't going to destroy the world. It's not going to break the planet because you don't like playing this game. And we can always work around you. It's fine. Everything is fine.
And you've already talked about expectations and communication, and I think the third thing there is acceptance of like actually being like, yeah, you know what, you've set these boundaries and I accept your boundaries. I am listening to you. And like listen, I mean, that's part of communication, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like in communication, you have to not only state your own thing and state your case, but also listen to the other person's case and then accept it. And yeah, I think that's like a really important thing. Like it feels like we do have a lot more to chat about, and this might be a thing that let's have a group chat about it one day. And because I really like this notion of what is those rules that you accept when you're sitting down at the table. What are those sets of rules? And for sure, okay, quite often we have this assumption that you're going to abide by the rules of the game, you're going to accept those rules, because these rules, we accept these arbitrary conditions. You're not going to pick up a ball in golf and then just physically drop it in the hole. And so if, hey, in golf, if you do that, who cares? You're not affecting anyone else's game. But then if you are doing that in a game like Team Macher or Vast, where it actually affects other people, where your moves might actually affect other people, then yes, you are being a jerk. And you should have actually, it's also about being willing to talk through your issues. Yeah, I mean, do you have anything more to get in before we start doing the recap?
I mean, I think we've come to a good point, in all honesty. I do think that there are, wider discussions that can be had, but you know me, I can talk the hind legs off a donkey. It's fine. I like the idea of a deeper discussion into the contract we enter into when we sit down and play games. I think that would be a really, really interesting thing to dive into, and ways that contract can be subverted, or ways that it should potentially be changed. That sort of stuff. That could be really, really cool. But I think the fact that we came through to 3 very sort of like important keywords to bring this conversation to a close, I think is, I think that's a really good way to wrap it up. I think I think that's a good call.
Yeah, I mean, we did have a lot of fun, silly chat, and for Nicholas, if you are going back to watch it, it's like the first 50 minutes is just completely off-topic stuff.
Surprising no one.
We talked about first games, we talked about sharks, we talked about squirrels, we talked about garbage dumps, we talked about karaoke, of course, and it's a thing on Twitch now. But we talked about just giving people the opportunity to leave, like when you're at a convention, and I really hope that was a good experience, Alex, because Alex said they played Grapple, and then I said, I hope it was good, and then no reply. So
no mention.
If it was problematic, let me know how, so that next time I'm demoing it, I can do a better job, please. But yeah, remembering you don't have to 100% everything, and if people aren't enjoying it, try and notice that. Be mindful of other people, but it's also on the other person to say, hey, I am not enjoying this. And then kind of communicating, are you okay with it, playing it a little bit more? Would you like other people to, or are you kind of hating it so much that you would like to say, hey, if you're really loving it, then I can maybe go through it. Or, I mean, I feel like there's a bigger, how do you negotiate that communication? Obviously, that's going to depend on the people involved. And, at a demo table, for sure, who cares about me? I'm just there showing stuff off. And frankly, if who cares about me? It's like the people who come. But that's one reason that I love demoing Wibble. Not to toot my own horn, but because if I say, hey, would you like to leave? And if 2 people want to leave, the game can go on. Wibble, people can literally jump in and jump out of the game at any point. and it doesn't hurt it, which I think is a really strong thing. Conversely, if it was Manhattan Project, if 3 of us started playing that game, I guess, yeah, actually, it wouldn't hurt that much because there's not so much interaction that it would we could probably patch it up if we really wanted to make it work. But there's some games where you couldn't, for sure. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
And like, how do you negotiate that? That's something that we have. That could be a discussion in and of itself. Negotiating the desires of the different players and how do you prioritize and how do you come to like a happy conclusion, which many books have been written about, win-win situations and trying to make sure that everyone is happy. We talked about the social contracts and like it's all about subverting it. We talked about Munchkin and Flux and terrible games that are quiz games and stuff gets misprinted. We talked about some people want closure, and we talked about the 3 keywords, which is expectations, acceptance, and communication, and that's something to be really pondered. And hello, Leos Van Hoon. You are here just as we are about to finish up, but hopefully the recap wrap-up has been
it's a relatively entertaining chat. You can go and check the VOD. It's all good.
But we are finishing up. We finish up at 12 noon every day except for Sunday, where I just go as long as I want. And
she does.
Yep. And sometimes that's a couple of hours. Sometimes it might be 4 hours. We will see. It entirely depends on the day. So with that, we have wrapped up. If you want to check me out, I am stuffbybez.com, stuffbybez.pickard.com, twitter.com/stuffbez, instagram.com/stuffbez, twitch.tv/stuffbez. I am streaming every day at 10 a.m. UK time and 8 p.m. also on Tuesdays. youtube.com/c/stuffbez is a place where you can go to watch the old chats if it's more than 2 weeks old. And stuffbez.com/discord. Check out the Discord. And I want to thank everyone. And I will grab Michael's links while Michael says something entertaining.
Well, not entertaining, but it's going to be freaking shameless. I am streaming, of course, myself over at twitch.tv/idlemichael. That kicks off at 2 o'clock today. So, yeah, weekends, 2 o'clock, Saturday, Sundays. I do Let's Plays during the week on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays in the morning. I do... I'm stuck again. So yeah, it's just down there. There you go, down there. Yeah, I'm all over the place, literally in many places. But yeah, I do the game design streams on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 11:30 in the morning as well. And yeah, we're making some cool stuff at the minute. Lots and lots of good, interesting things.
And these are harsh words from Leos Van Hoon. Not only abandoning games, but now abandoning the show as well.
I mean, true. Such is life. But hey, we need
things have to come to an end,
stuff.
and that's the thing. At a certain point, it's like, that's the time. And
yeah,
I love the fact
I'm not comfortable anymore doing this stream. I'd like to end.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I am entirely comfortable, but I think it's just drawn to a natural conclusion.
And thank you, everyone. It has been lovely to have you on. And let me say, you have all been wonderful. Michael, you have been wonderful. And it's over to you. What are you up to? You can share anything you want to, whether it's something you're looking forward to, hopes or ambitions. Yeah, whether it's exciting, trivial, or important, or just the boring facts about yourself or a fun facts, whatever. I am going to share that. Yeah, I'm going to have my breakfast. I might have a fancy meal today. I am inspired to maybe treat myself to a pre-made pie. I don't know where from, but I'm feeling strongly like I can get behind this, or I might go and have
you got a good local chippy?
Oh my gosh, there's a new chippy that's opened that has a pie and chips, and I've never had a pie from them. I've never had a pie from a fish and chip shop. True story.
Oh man, like pie in a bread roll is a northern glory thing before you go out for a night.
That's too much carbs. This bread roll and chips. No.
Tag on,
Next
yo.
streams, look
It's the
at stuffbez.com/streams. Tomorrow I am reviewing some stuff. I don't know what I'm reviewing exactly. I will decide later today. I'll check if Chris is on or not. Chris might be on, Chris might not be on. Depends on how Chris is feeling. I'll be there.
Cool.
Anyway.
Well, I am going to do streaming, and I'm going to eat some apple crumble and custard.
And what's our other people up to? Andrew January is playing games online with friends this afternoon. That sounds lovely. What are you playing? Do you have any plans? And will you abandon any games? Who knows?
Rob is building a new chicken house.
What? And Jay Foolsguard is just going to get weekend. And thank you. And someone might turn the lights off in their office and have a nap. I mean, I assume Rob has chickens. This is not something that I was aware of.
I mean, it'd be a bold move if
Nicholas,
they were building it and just not having any chickens.
Finished the Tabletopia port for a prototype yesterday. Congratulations, and I hope that the playtests go well. Hello, Runa, who is going to be streaming. Oh, yes, Runa. If you send your link to Xate, then Xate can post the link in Twitch chat, and it's all about go and watch Runa. Runa does crafts every Tuesday and Thursday, and I think this weekend they're doing a craft along thing where you can join in and doing crafts at the same time as Runa if you enjoy making things, and that is something you would like to do.
Rob's got 4 chickens apparently.
Yes, Rob does have 4 chickens apparently.
Nice.
And I believe Rob. Xate is playing some games, still needs people, but does have premium board game arena. So
we're supposed to be playing Root as well at some point. Maybe tomorrow? We'll see.
Yeah. I think Sundays are not good for Xate, but
okay.
Anyway, so what else? Share, spread the word. I will quickly check on Twitch to see if anyone is going there for a raid. Other than that, this is the time where we are winding down. And there we go.
We'll sort it at some point.
Oh, Amadeus has just started up. Also, Jolin on the piano. Well, we've never gone into Jolin's thing, so maybe let's check out some music from Jolin piano for a change. And Runa is streaming at 2 p.m. CET, which is basically in 1 hour's time, so 1 p.m. UK time. So for now, there is only one thing left for us to do, and that one thing, as always, is to say bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, bye. Bye, bye. This is the end of the show. And bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Do it. Bye-bye, everyone.
See ya.